don't think this is a secret in the industry.
Right.
I don't think this is a secret to NAR.
Can't be.
NAR really drove a lot of brokers away from them when they decided we're going to protect small independent broker owners. We're going to make the big ones who have already settled, they've settled. All those big ones, though, in the middle, those are big companies, over $2 billion in sales, that have really supported our dues over the years. We're going to just leave them out. This is Byron Lazine and Nicole White, and you are tuned into episode 330 of The Real Word.
Word is up.
Nicole, it's good to have you back.
Thank you. Happy to
I
be
had to
back.
do that show solo. I think it's only the second time in 330 episodes I've done a solo Real Word, coming off the heels of one of the handful of times we did a guest with Ricky 2 episodes ago.
He was so dynamic. I'm sorry to make the next episode so flat.
Well, no, the next episode was just me because you
I
were in
know.
the Cape.
That's
How was the Cape? Everybody's wondering.
It was rainy, but it was good.
Right.
I got to hang with my crew, so it's good.
All right. Appreciate a lot of the comments though from last episode. I'm going to get into some of those comments. There's comments on each end of the spectrum as it relates to NAR from last episode, and
Yep.
we have NAR topics that we're covering here on this episode. First one being Michigan real estate professionals file an antitrust lawsuit against NAR. Is this the first of many? Is this going to become a national antitrust lawsuit? A lot of questions. We're going to dive into all of those there. Then that's on nowbam.com, that piece. And then there's a real estate news piece. And this one, there's been a couple of these pieces. Relatics, the data company for that agents and brokers typically use for recruiting purposes,
Yep.
has reported this. We've covered it on Knowledge Brokers podcast, but Real Estate News is now reporting that there are more agents joining NAR since the settlement was announced. There's a Now BAM piece that we put out back in April. Is NAR hiding membership data? Okay. And so when, the verdict came out, numbers dropped on NAR. They took those numbers off of the website. We covered that here. And then now there's these reports that since the settlement's been announced, which the settlement obviously goes into effect, the practice is going to effect this week,
Right.
Saturday, the 17th. A lot of MLSs are doing it on Friday if they haven't already done so. The actual settlement gets approved sometime in November, so sometime down the road. But now that settlement's been announced, the numbers are going back up. So we'll get into that story as well. But first, let's get into this Michigan real estate antitrust lawsuit. This is from 3. So typically you need like a handful of people. And that's kind of how the Missouri lawsuit happened. You had, a handful of homeowners. Here you have 3 plaintiffs: Douglas Hardy, who's a broker owner, Glenn Champion, the primary broker. Love the last name, Nicole. Champion.
I mean, it's your favorite word.
I love the word champion.
I know you do.
And Dylan Tent, who's a real estate agent. So Glenn and Douglas Hardy you got a broker owner, you got a primary broker, so name on the door type of thing.
Yep.
And then you got an agent. Okay. So you got every level. And they're all associated with Signature Sotheby's International Realty in southeastern Michigan. Sotheby's usually kind of, I don't know. I mean, they're all independently owned and operated besides a couple of I think the San Francisco branch, the Greenwich brand, New York City. There's a few of these that company owned locations in premier locations, but most of the Sotheby's offices are franchises, independently owned and operated. And I don't know, typically they just don't get into controversial discussions or things like that.
Their luxury homes.
Yeah, just being super luxe, that's kind of been the MO for years.
Pineapples, yeah.
Well, that is a local brand.
I know.
Okay,
yes.
So, anyways, these 3 from this Sotheby's not here, but in southeastern Michigan, argue that the requirement for brokers and agents to join NAR, MAR, Michigan Association of Realtors, and local realtor associations to access the MLS is a violation of their rights under antitrust laws. Nicole, we've been talking about this on The Real Word forever.
Since we started The Real Word, we've been talking about how much of a racket. I mean, I think that was always our biggest racket was being forced to be a part of all these memberships and boards in order to get access to MLS. Yeah.
Well, and the reason why they're making this claim is tie-in agreements are illegal. Okay. Now, we've always been told, oh yeah, but that's not really what's happening here. This is different. Real estate makes up their own rules. Well, we have our own codes and rules and laws, and we just kind of make those the law of the land if you're going to
Right.
have your real estate license. This is a tie-in agreement. If you want to really operate in your local business, in your local market, you got to have access to the MLS.
Right.
Okay. Even when, at the end of this week, when, buyer broker commission is not available of what's being offered on the MLS, there's so much data on the MLS. There's showings, showing time is built into the MLS. This is a hub for agents and brokers in a local market to get business done, to
Right.
keep the market moving. Okay. And it's really, if you're going to represent buyers and sellers, I can see you not having access to the MLS if you're going to be working exclusively commercial, or something like that. But even investors want access to the MLS because they're looking both on the MLS and off, and they want that, the ability to get the best access to the best information. But certainly if you're helping consumers, residential consumers, having the MLS is absolutely essential. And so this is a tie-in agreement because you need that to operate your business. If you want the MLS, and this happens in multiple locations, it happens to be the case of, Nicole's career, my career, our entire career in the state of Connecticut, there has been this tie-in agreement. If you want the MLS, you have to join the local Realtor Association board,
Right.
and you have to join the state board. Okay,
Correct.
for these three plaintiffs, Douglas Hardy, Glenn Champion, and Dylan Tent, happens to be the Michigan Association of Realtors is the state board, and the local Realtor associations. And in order to be a part of MAR and local, you have to join NAR. In order to join local, that's how you get the MLS. Everything is tied in.
Right.
The lawsuit alleges that NAR, MAR, Real Comp 2, and local realtor boards, including the Grassi Point Board of Realtors, GPBOR, the Greater Metropolitan Association of Realtors, GMAR, and the North Oakland County Board of Realtors, NOCBOR, mandate membership to access the MLS. The plaintiffs claim this practice deprives real estate professionals of free choice and impacts finances through mandatory membership fees. In the complaint, the plaintiffs argue that the mandatory nature of these memberships holds hostage access to the MLS, thereby monopolizing the MLS system. This DOJ does not play with monopolies. You've seen it across the board with a number of different businesses. Look what's happening. Apple's under the microscope with how they are going to charge 30% for everything in the App Store. If you want to run an ad on Instagram right now, and you do it through your phone, Apple's going to take 30%. So definitely do that from the desktop. Go through Meta if you are running an ad on Instagram. Completely side note there. But we had some comments last week, Nicole, on the podcast that you missed while you
Yep.
were hanging out in the Cape with all the fancy people, and they're on different sides of NAR. I talked about NAR a little bit, but NAR is obviously a hot topic here, and now
Yeah.
going to become a hot topic with this lawsuit. We had one commenter say the best thing NAR can do right now is make their membership optional nationwide. Okay, so Bart Tracy, at Bart Tracy 88 says, hey, make the membership optional. This is what these plaintiffs in Michigan are saying as well. I want the optionality. I want the
Right.
freedom of choice. I don't want to operate in a monopoly. He goes on to say, should agents see the value with being a member of NAR, then be one. Those who do not see the value of being an NAR member should not be forced to be a member. He had a number of people react in a with the thumbs up there. Now you had another user say you aren't forced. Open your own brokerage. Join a non NAR MLS. I would just say that commenter doesn't know what they're talking about, in the sense that different states have different situations. He may be in a state like Massachusetts, for example, is a state where you
Voluntary.
can
Right.
be a non NAR
Right.
member of the MLS. You can't do that in every state right now. So That's kind of the catch there. Now, I had Norris Lindsay 8487 make a comment as well. That's on the other side here. This is from last week's pod. Thanks for your time. But Norris, I'd like to thank you for your time for checking out the pod. I really appreciate that. Just some feedback. All caps. Love NAR. Love it. Love that stuff. Everyone misses a shot. NAR might have missed a shot after 100 years. The competitive nature of NAR will kick in. Thanks for your time. See ya. Norris, I hope that doesn't mean that you're gone forever. Thanks for your time again.
He likes
Thanks for your
thanking you
time,
for
Norris.
your
Thank
for
you
his
for your
time.
time.
Yeah, thank you for your time.
Thank you for yours.
Mhm.
See ya with it. The CYA. Does that mean we're never going to see Norris again?
I hope not. Hopefully he comes back.
Listen, you can love NAR and you can be critical of them.
Right.
Okay. Right, Nicole, are you ever critical of your loved ones? Do you ever critique your children?
All the time. Oh, you know what? I actually saw the most beautiful thing today. Um, and now I'm totally going to hold you up here because I thought it was lovely. It says, when someone is challenging you to be better, it's not an attack, it's an act of love.
I agree with that.
Right.
Absolutely. You
Yeah.
accountability is a big part of business, right? And everybody that's got some type of curiosity around NAR is typically a real estate, a licensed real estate professional, somebody
Right.
in the industry.
Yeah.
And holding NAR to a critique is a good thing. I wish more people on the left and more people on the right, when it comes to politics, would hold their party hold some critique to their parties. We're in an election cycle right now, and you hear too many people from both sides of the aisle talking about how great their party is, when we can look at both parties and say there's a lot of disgusting things that each party does.
Right.
Okay, like, just because you're part of a party, if you are, you should still critique that party to make a better country. Same thing
Well,
here in
that's also what I think is your responsibility as a member of that community as well.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Being a member of NAR, you shouldn't say they've missed one shot in 100 years. I mean, I can go through the laundry list of things that I've shared on this podcast. They absurdly waste funds, NAR dues, and hand them over to third-party media companies that produce pathetic commercials that no consumer relates to, no consumer watches. We just looked at the 1,000 watt and BAM survey, and consumers don't have any type of, affirmation to the word realtor. They don't even really understand it. They're not like, uh, you know, tied to that word. It's not a big meaning. They don't know what it means half the time. And so they're just blowing money on something. There's a lot of things that NAR has done that don't make a lot of sense. So I wouldn't call this settlement, this verdict being their first miss in 100 years. They also, before Kevin Sears, have been very behind the curtain of Washington, D.C. and Chicago. They haven't come out and really been frank with their members. They've had an elitist attitude for many years. If you want to make a comparison. All right. So going back to the story here, the lawsuit is partly driven by recent changes resulting from NAR's settlement. Part of NAR's settlement, which goes into effect August 17th, this Saturday, is to prohibit these offers of compensation. Plaintiffs argue the change greatly diminished any value created by being a member. Okay, so they're looking at this now, Nicole, and saying, what's the value? Nicole, what
Right.
would be the value right now for you with NAR? What value do you have? You're with NAR. What's your value?
I am with NAR, but I guess I've always, besides sort of, I guess, maybe them on like their lobbying level, I don't know that,
Yeah, I think there's
I've
value there.
yeah, I don't know that I've ever known anything in addition to that value. Like for me personally in my
Yeah.
business.
I
Yeah.
think, when you look at the last 100 years, going back to that last comment about, hey, they've only missed one shot. One of the things they've done well, to give them their flowers, is they've advocated for buyers. Okay. They've been a buyer advocate for years. They've gone into Congress and they've lobbied, one of the biggest lobbyists, top two lobbyists in the country. They've lobbied for homeowners and buyers, and buyer representation is in large part because of the work that NAR has done. That is the value, protecting consumers.
Right.
Okay. We, as real estate professionals in this country, want to see the best environment for our clients. It's It's
Right.
why we invest in something like NAR to be able to do that. Those are the benefits. Okay. Now, could you get that done with a lower membership cost? Could you get that done with less bureaucracy in the association, with less committees in the association, with $50 million not going to a third party media company to create commercials that nobody gives a crap about? Of course, you could get these things done by lowering the cost and being streamlined and focused and saying, this is what we stand for. We're just going to go in and hold politicians accountable who don't understand our industry, who don't understand the rights for consumers. That's why we're going to exist, not to make up rules and bureaucracy and things for agents that counteract what the state rules are. Okay, those be where I'd get out of the picture. You're not a media company, NAR. You fail in that every single year, every single time you invest in that. I'd get out of those business models there. Okay, so the plaintiffs are also claiming that Real Comp 2, Michigan's largest MLS provider, enacted a policy change on July 10th, which made the NAR rule banning offers of comp in the MLS effective as of July 16th. A month earlier, the plaintiffs argue the decision jeopardizes the agreed upon compensation for all pending transactions. So I think that's a weak argument. Just
Very
stick with
weak.
the tie-in agreement
Yeah.
being against antitrust lawsuits. Like, okay, they went early. They're just getting ahead of it. I think that's a weak part of the agreement. They are seeking class action status. Okay, so looking to get class action status for the lawsuit representing all Michigan real estate agents. So this will be like what you saw in Missouri, where you get all Michigan
And
or
you get
Missouri homeowners.
dollars. Yeah.
This will be Michigan real estate agents and brokers that are in this tie agreement. Other states might look at this, try to do a copycat. If
Of
your state's one
course.
of those that has a copycat, you might look at that. Nicole, and listen, in the Now BAM article, you've got the entire PDF of the 15-page lawsuit that's been filed here now.
Yeah.
Um, and so, do you expect this to be the first of many? Is this going to be just a handful? Is this going to be the only one
Yeah.
lawsuit coming at NAR from its
It's
members?
members. No, I think we're gonna see many follow this. I'm just disappointed that it took individuals like this to then, it's sort of like they're kicking them when they're down, Like, I kinda wish that we had maybe had some of these conversations before this lawsuit, but, regardless, to answer your question, I will not be surprised if there are more lawsuits to follow this one against NAR for sure.
For over 10 years, I've been saying this publicly online that this is, and when we started the show and we started using the word the racket, this is the
Yeah,
biggest racket in the real estate industry. This is a
yeah,
far bigger racket than anything that happened with the verdict with consumers
yep,
in Missouri. I mean, that's just silly. Okay, you can still do offers of compensation, but it can't be on the MLS.
right,
These are semantics. What's best for consumers, they're going to decide that as they always have. And so,
right,
anyways, this has been the biggest racket. It wasn't addressed. At all. And it's always been the biggest racket. I've always said that. And I've said this to
yeah,
many brokers over the years. And I've kind of gotten the line from brokers over the years: shut up and just stay in your lane.
right,
Okay. It's like when they say to a basketball player, just shut up and shoot the ball in the hoop. Don't talk about anything else. You're not allowed to comment. You're a basketball player. Just shut up and dribble. That's what brokers have often said to me when I bring this up. Shut up. NAR is good. Go sell more houses. Go help customers. And
right.
I said, this is illegal. It's a tie-in agreement.
Well, and it gets really expensive for I mean, some people they're deciding between paying their dues or, like, going into, like, a referral program so they don't have to pay the fee
Yeah.
the dues.
Yeah, you have that side of it. To
Yeah,
me, it's just I want the choice. Maybe I do choose. I don't it is monopolistic, and it's one of the reasons why the associations have the money to exist,
right,
because you have to be a member. The only value they have is the MLS. So why can't I just subscribe to the MLS Direct?
right.
Okay. If the only value your local board has is literally the MLS, I just want to go to them. Okay. The plaintiffs are seeking not only class action status, but damages, injunctive relief, and a jury trial. So you get more damages awarded, settlements that NAR has to agree to. NAR is they'll go out of business if you get too many of these. Um, I know your thoughts are, hey, there'll be more lawsuits to come. I'm guaranteeing it. Okay, I'm guaranteeing it here on the pod because I've talked to enough brokers, not a handful. I've talked to enough brokers, number of brokers across the country who are entertaining the thought of going and doing a lawsuit against NAR. I don't think this is a secret in the industry. I
Right.
don't think this is a secret to NAR.
Can't be.
NAR really drove a lot of brokers away from them when they decided we're going to protect small independent broker owners. We're going to make the big ones who have already settled, they've settled. All those big ones, though, in the middle, those are big companies, over $2 billion in sales, that have really supported our dues over the years. We're going to just leave them out.
Yeah.
And they've alienated long-standing members, decades and decades and decades of relationships with members. They've alienated those, and it's no secret a lot of those brokers are looking at what options they have against NAR. A lot of those brokers are gonna start looking at what options are available to them to have a bigger say on MLSs. There's a comment from last week's pod where somebody says, he goes, "Big brain." I think that's an old Barstool show. Big brain. The brokerages all just get together and refuse to list on the MLS and create their own portal. Problem solved. Well, they've tried that a little bit and they've failed. You just got to go out and get the MLSs that already exist. That's where the power is. Don't try to create a new MLS to compete with the old. Just go take over the MLS. That you might see happen. MLSs are going to become very valuable moving forward. Even Zillow has admitted that is where the power is. Zillow pays attention to what the MLS is going to do. They don't pay attention to what NAR
Right.
and the local boards are going to do. Real Estate News says that there are more agents, though, joining NAR. So more agents now since February are flocking to NAR since the settlement. Some predicted, obviously, that the industry would see an exodus of agents, that agents would be leaving with really high numbers. I think you and I, Nicole, said it's not going to happen this year. I even
No, because we already paid our dues.
already paid our dues, and there's just going to be like this, let me see what happens with all of this. And
Right.
so, I was end of last year, I said on Knowledge Brokers podcast, I said, I'm taking the over on, we did an over under on agent count. I took the over. Okay. Because it's just not going to happen in the first 12 months. It will happen over time. You get some of these lawsuits that happen, you're going to see some brokers leave, give the optionality to their
Well,
agents.
if they have the option. Yeah, I mean, again, we still don't have the option.
Right
So,
now,
anybody
right
in
now
the
we
state of
couldn't.
Connecticut that's becoming a real estate agent is still having to join.
Absolutely.
Right.
And that's what Michigan is fighting here. There's plenty of states that are like that. The optionality will come to this industry. I believe that. I think you'll see more of those lawsuits that fight the tying agreement. I wish they would have cleaned up their agreement and just focused on that, on their lawsuit rather,
Yeah.
and just focused on that. So right now, though, NAR membership's on the upswing. I've talked about this with Relatics. I've covered this on Knowledge Brokers podcast. This isn't the first report we've seen on this. Okay. The latest state association membership data that Real Estate News got access to reveals that NAR gained more than 29,000 member agents between April and August. So that pushes membership up to roughly 1.53 million. There's been a lot of speculation of obviously agent attrition, but that's not the case here since April. Over the next few months, the organization reported losses between October and January. NAR membership fell by 62,000. That was after the verdict. Okay, the months following the verdict. So they've now gained half of that. The association claimed to be more than 1.5 million at that time, though. We know that if you go to the April Now BAM piece that shows they were hiding those numbers off the website, they did in fact go under the 1.5 number. In February, NAR lost 19,000 members, pushing its count below the 1.5 for the first time in nearly 3 years. That was a headline. We talked about that. Obviously, we covered that on the Real Word here and in that article. Okay. NAR chief economist Lawrence Yoon told Real Estate News via email, our membership numbers, as in all previous years, will be competitive with new members trying out their entrepreneurial skills while less productive members drop out. We will await the net impact. So far, membership is holding high with only a 2% decline from a year ago, despite the low home sales over the past 2 decades. I mean, so Lawrence is just saying, oh, it's all market. Some agents make it, some agents don't. No, Lawrence, some people are going to leave because they're not getting value.
Right.
Like face the facts. And this is where I have a problem with NAR outside of the media spending. They're fake. They pretend like the world that they've built to protect themselves and Lawrence Yune's 800,000 plus annual salary is never going away because they are the overlords of the industry. No, like acknowledge what's actually happening here.
The overlords?
They are the overlords. They've created these illegal tie-in agreements.
Yeah.
It's insane. This is all going to break. There's going to be massive upheaval
Oh,
in
for sure.
this industry over the next 5 years from a number of directions. And fortunately, if you're on the ground level helping customers and consumers and your clients, you're going to be the ones that come out looking really good if you're providing an exceptional service. The biggest gains, Nicole, have been Washington State. They saw their membership increase 5.6% between April and August. It's the highest of any association. This comes after Washington Realtor saw the biggest drop, though, last year, losing more than 2,500. So they had an 11% decline. Now, it looks like some of those came back, probably to say, hey, I want to jump in and get this protection from the settlement.
Well,
I would
that's what I
imagine.
was sort of speculating, in my mind is, yeah, the protection for sure.
And Redfin, obviously, when they dropped out, they had a large um, agent population in Washington. And, some of those they had the option that, maybe those have come back. You've got to be a member in good standing in order to benefit from the NAR settlement. So there's some people I think that are making decisions right now. It's like, okay, I want to be protected in the settlement so I know where I stand
Right.
and then kind of see where things go. And that's where I think, we thought about this correctly in the beginning of the year where it's like, I just don't see how you lose a lot of membership going into the beginning of the year. But there you go, Nicole. If you get the option here and all that, if you had the option right now, would you get out right now, or would you say, I want to wait and just kind of see how all this works out through the end of
Yeah,
the
I
year
would
through?
just I would just wait and see how it all pans out. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, listen, for as big of a critique as I've been as NAR, I'm
Yeah.
already paid till when? When have I paid till? I've paid till,
Next, I think January, I think we
yeah.
have to
So I
pay or
would at
something.
least
Yeah.
keep
Yeah.
that. I wouldn't make a decision till I'm up.
Right.
Okay. I'll be clear on that. I think overall there's going to be a day where, um, I'm going to observe, hey, what happens between now and January? What happens between now and the day I actually get a choice because I'm still
Right.
in a tie-in agreement myself. I'm still locked in.
Right.
Um, you know, and between now and then, what happens? Is there real change?
Right.
Has somebody come into NAR and done an Elon Musk on it and gotten rid of 50, 60% of the dead weight that's filling up the building in
Well,
DC and Chicago?
I'd like to think that that would be on every level, the state level and then
That
your
too.
smaller board level. I think there's a lot of wasted money in all of those situations
Yeah.
too. So I think the way to show their value and to reclaim these people that are considering leaving is to show how they are, going to be changing and using your money to help you instead of sort of help them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who owns the MLS? That'd be a decision that factor in.
Yeah.
What's the local board doing that is different from NAR? Could I just be local and not be NAR? Right? Do I
Right.
just so all these things I'd have to consider. And so that's where with the comments, people like that are just showering love on NAR and not being critical. Like I'm being critical because
You
they've
want
made
better.
multiple mistakes. They have
Yeah.
huge area for improvement. They have huge area to stop wasting. They are basically they function like a government. They're given money. They're very wasteful with that money. They don't know how to spend it. They want to protect high inflated salaries. CEOs that are making $2.8 million to never comment to their members except through teleprompters and little snippets in a article. It's pathetic. It's a lack of leadership. It's high bureaucracy, and it needs to stop in order for them to keep the memberships and not continue to get sued. So we'll see how that shakes out. Most importantly, love to know what your thoughts are. Let us know down below in the comments. If you got value from this podcast, subscribe to the main BAM channel at Now BAM here on YouTube. Hit subscribe down below if you got value, and hit the thumbs up so more people can get access to this video. And I hope that you get access to BAM Mania. I guess that would be over here, right? Or right
There you
there.
go.
Get
Yep.
access to BAM Mania by jumping on to bammania.com. We're going to sell out of VIP tickets first, and then we'll be just left with general admission. VIP gets you access to both days, October 17th and the 18th. General admission is October 18th. Get your tickets now before we run out of those, bammania.com. Nicole,
Thank you for your time.
thank you for your time.
Thank you for your time.
I appreciate your time. Appreciate that you're back on the pod. And we'll see you guys next week.
See you guys.
With August 17th approaching, it is more important than ever for agents to keep their clients, not just for the transaction, but for life. So I believe so much in what Reminder Media is doing. They're creating content that allows you to stay in front of your sphere of influence, the clients that you've transacted with in the past, so that they think of you first when they have a referral, when they have another transaction. A lot of people send a just sold or a just closed Realtor talk mail. Reminder Media supports agents like Nicole, my co-host on The Real Word, in building out an authentic magazine where you can advertise your own properties. Here's an example of our award-winning luxury new development that we have in Connecticut. Put it right on the back and put in a whole bunch of relevant information. You can build out the content inside of your magazine and send it to maybe people you're following up with to get a listing, or people who are in your database right now who know you but might just forget about you because you're mixing in with all the postcards from the other agents. Reminder Media keeps you top of mind with the people that you want as clients for life. That's why we believe in so much of how they're helping agents just like you stand out. Go to remindermedia.com/BAM sample. Remindermedia.com/BAM sample today to get your sample and start reminding your clients exactly who you are today. At BAMX, we listen to what real estate professionals want and need. That's why our platform is filled with sought-after courses, content, and tactical assets for your business. And that's why we launched BAMX in a box with templates and scripts done for you, delivered each Friday. The best part? It's not coming from panel pontificators who bought their followers and don't sell any real estate. It's coming from top agents, team leaders, and content creators in the industry. It's education that actually shows you how to do what you need in today's market. And now it includes editable templates and scripts so you can easily deliver that knowledge to your database. Every day, we continue to add more content into BAMX, into our private Facebook community, content that works, content that our members have exclusive access to daily. So do not wait any longer. Use code REALWORD and join the thousands of agents taking their business to the next level today. Code REALWORD for 10% off. I'll see you in BAMX.